All right, it's Trial Tuesday, and today we're talking with attorney David Ayler about what happens when you're arrested and charged with a misdemeanor. Do you need a lawyer, or can you go without? And how does the entire process work? And David, this might be a good question after the 4th of July weekend.
Right,
possibly. Right. A lot of people maybe getting in a little trouble.
Yeah, you see so many different things, and unfortunately it's something that really starts off serious but relatively minor, and then it escalates just because people don't handle it correctly.
So specifically, what are we talking about? Like open container, possibly simple possession of marijuana, what kind of things?
Exactly. Things that have 30-day offenses is mostly what we're talking about. Okay. So that's going to put it in the municipal or magistrate court level. Okay. You have other things like DUS, which is driving under suspension. You can be ticketed for that. Oftentimes, though, they are actually taken to jail. And what issue you usually see in a lot of these situations is, particularly like on the simple possession of marijuana, someone will get that ticket and they may not be taken to jail. They may just get a courtesy summons. Okay. And then they actually go to court on their own and they pay the fine. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they were actually taken to jail and then they just get time served. And they have this confusion to think that they have not been found guilty of a misdemeanor crime because really not a whole lot happened. They paid a fine or they did a few hours in jail. Mm-hmm. But ironically, that's the exact opposite. What's just happened is you've been convicted of a drug offense.
Wow.
And so that's where really the handling of the case and sort of understanding the procedure comes into play. The other side of it is when people just forget to go to court all the time.
Mm-hmm. Is that frequent?
You'd be surprised, but it actually is pretty frequently. Yeah. They'll look at the date wrong, or they'll go to the wrong court, or they'll attempt to call the court themselves and say, hey, I can't make it today because my tire blew out. Well, the court really doesn't take phone call excuses. It's not like middle school. So, those are the type of things that we often see where people, it's not that they didn't pay attention, but they just didn't really take it serious enough, and they weren't careful enough to understand that, look, you can, end up maybe with your license suspended. You definitely can end up with a criminal record, all related to just the handling of what really is a minor charge.
So no matter what happens, even if it seems minor to you, would it be best to contact an attorney first?
Absolutely. Even an attorney may tell you, sometimes we say it's easier to handle this yourself instead of having to spend the money, or they may charge you a relatively minor fee and take care of it for you. You see during the summertime, people say, hey, I've got this court date, but, I've already got a planned family vacation to California. Well, the court's really not going to take your planned family vacation too serious. However, if an attorney gets involved, they'd be able to move it around because of their schedule and, the process of how it works. So there's different ways to do things. Unfortunately, sometimes, just like when we try to do anything on our own that we're not experienced in, a lot of times it can cause more problems.
Professional help definitely would help out with that. So from the time that you actually are ticketed or even taken to jail, how long on average until you have that court date?
Well, that's also varied. It's going to depend on the officer's schedule. Sometimes the court date will come up really quickly. It could come up with just in a few days. Other times, because of training or if the officer's on leave, it may take a couple of months. And that's when you really start to see some people sort of forget about the ticket. Just sort of like getting a speeding ticket. They're upset about it. They throw it in the glove box. That type of thing happens. Exactly.
Yeah. I imagine, do you see a lot of people that come to you, I don't want to say when it's too late, but after the fact, and it could have been remedied much sooner had they called you sooner?
We often represent people. I know at my office, I know a lot of other lawyers in town do as well, where you're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, and that's simply because the court date is passed.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, you have to go back, you have to get it reopened on a motion to reopen, and have a hearing and all that, and it really starts to get expensive and time consuming when you have to go backwards instead of forwards.
All right, always great information. Here's the man that you need to call should anything ever arise.
Thanks for having me.
Trial Tuesday here with David Ayler. Right now, though, we're going to send it over to Tom, and he is road tripping.